Alright, hello math fans. Today we are going to cover applications of systems of equations. So you got to remember what we're doing here. It's applications of systems. So if it's something with systems, that means we're going to be writing two equations for every application. Alright, so as we learned before, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the question. Alright, and I'm not even going to go, if I don't even look through this whole thing, I just look at the question mark right here. And I say, how much did each Big Mac and fry cost? Alright, so that's my question. So those are my variables that I'm going to define. So let's start out with writing B is a Big Mac, and it's how much do they cost? So Big Mac cost, and F is a fry cost. Okay, very important that we define the variables. Okay, so that gives us 1 point right there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to write equations for these two. I call this type of problem, let's read the question. Mrs. C takes her daughter and her friends to McDonald's. She buys 5 Big Macs and 8 fries for $22.84. She then takes her son and his friends later that day. Mrs. C buys 9 Big Macs and 4 fries for $25.20. And then how much did each Big Mac and fry cost? So she's got two different groups of people that she's buying for, and they give you the number that they, the 5 Big Macs and 8 fries, and the total cost of that, and the 9 Big Macs and 4 fries, and the total cost for that. I call this type of problem, this is a cost problem, because you're really given the same thing twice. Okay, so if B is the cost of a Big Mac and F is the cost for fry, it says she buys 5 Big Macs and 8 fries, so 5 times the number of Big Macs, or the cost of a Big Mac, plus 8 times the cost of a fry, and that's going to equal $22.84. Okay? Very simple, real simple equation. And so the second equation is just the same thing. It's 9 Big Macs and 4 fries, so 9 times the cost of a Big Mac plus 4 times the cost of a fry is equal to $25.20. Alright, so that actually gives us another point, okay, to set up the equations. And then basically, this is just like an old equation from back in the day. You have to solve it using either elimination or substitution. I recommend for really most of these, the word problems, I would recommend doing elimination method. Because if you don't do elimination method, you have to solve for F, probably in the second equation, and it just gets nasty. You get F, you divide 9 by 4, and you get it's just nasty 9/4. It's just not real pretty. So I would definitely use elimination. And if you see, we have a 4F here, and we have an 8F, so I'm just going to multiply this by -2. So I get negative 18B minus 8F is equal to negative 50.40. And then I'll write the other one underneath. 5B plus 8F equals 22.84. And we get negative 13B. This cancels out, which it should, because that's what happens in the elimination method. And we get negative 27.56. Divide this by negative 13. And these should come out pretty nice, the applications that we're going to do. Now in real life, they may not come out as nice. They may come out to be something where you have to round. But you have to realize for these problems, if it's a quantity that we're talking about to find the quantity, it's going to be a whole number. If it's a cost, it's definitely going to be something with up to 2 decimal places. Okay, because we're talking about money. And so if we divide both sides by negative 13, we actually do get B is equal to 1.12. Okay, and then of course we plug this back into one of the two equations. So I'm going to plug it back into this guy right here, into this B. So it's 5 times 2.12 plus 8F equals 22.84. And if I multiply this out, I get $10.60 plus 8F equals $22.84. Subtract 1060. You get 8F is equal to $12.24. Divide by 8. F equals 1.53. So actually all this extra work, or not extra work, but all this work that we did, this is all, that's two more points. So 1.4 defining the variable, 1.4 coming up with the equations, 2 points for solving, and then your last point is you need to tell me in real words what's going on, what is the answer. So you would say a Big Mac costs, and put your units in there, which are dollars, $2.12, and fries cost $1.53. That's it. So you got to make sure you know what you're doing here. Make sure you set up a systems of equations, make sure you show all your work, and you come up with the final answer. Okay, so let's try the next example. Okay, Tajel and Devin go to Best Buy and spend $708. They buy DVDs at $20 a piece and CDs at $8 a piece. How many DVDs and CDs did they buy if the total number of items was 42? Okay, this is a little bit different now. If you notice, with this one, you do not have two different types of costs. You actually have a quantity right here. The total number of items was 42. So first of all, here's my question. How many DVDs and CDs did they buy? So there we go. So we're going to say D is equal to the number of DVDs and C is equal to the number of CDs. Okay, now it's not the cost anymore, it's how many. So be careful what you're looking for here. And remember, it's probably going to be a whole number now. If you don't get a whole number, I would go back and check your work. Okay, so the first equation actually is really nice. This first thing I underlined here. The total number of items was 42. That means the number of DVDs and the number of CDs together equal 42. So that's your first equation. C plus D equals 42. That's a really easy equation. The second equation is actually almost as easy because we kind of did it on the last example. It says the DVDs are $20 a piece and the CDs are $8 a piece and they spend a total of $708. So there you go. It's $8 for a CD, so it's 8 times C plus 20 times D is equal to 708. Those are our two equations. So we got 1 point for defining the variables, 1 point for coming up with the equations. And again, I would recommend, you could do substitution, but I'm going to use elimination. I can eliminate the C, so I can multiply this by -8. So I get -8C minus 8D equals -336. Okay, the C's cancel, and I get 12D is equal to 372. Divide both sides by 12, and it does come out to be a nice even number. So D is equal to 31. Okay, then I'm going to plug it back into, actually, I'm going to plug it back into the first equation. So it's C plus D, so C plus 31 equals 42. That's the easiest one to plug it into. Subtract 31, and I get C is equal to 11. There we go. Now, of course, we need our final answer. And you can just, this is actually really easy because it's a quantity. You can just say 11 CDs and 31 DVDs because there's no real units on there, and that's your answer. Okay, very simple. So we call, actually, because I named the other one, that's a cost cost problem because there were two costs involved. And again, this is the total number of items. This is called a cost quantity problem because it has a cost. The 708 is the cost with the $20 a piece and the $8, and it has a quantity because it's the 42. The total number of items is 42. So those are the two equations. Okay, so let's try another example here. Steve and Diane go to Taco Bell for lunch every day. Diane buys 3 soft tacos and 2 burritos for $4.97, and Steve buys 4 tacos and 6 burritos for $10.46. Find the cost of each soft taco and burrito. Well, you can see this is just like the first problem. This one's a cost problem because you have Diane's buying tacos and we have Steve's buying tacos, and they give you the number and the quantity. So this is going to be a cost problem. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say T is equal to the cost, because it says find the cost of each. So T is taco cost, and B equals burrito cost. So real simple, it's 3 tacos and 2 burritos. So 3 tacos plus 2 burritos equals $4.97. And 4 tacos plus 6 burritos, and that's $10.46. Those are 2 equations. Very simple. Okay, and then again, I would recommend using the elimination method. Much easier. In this case here, I'm going to eliminate the B. So I'm going to multiply this by -3. So I get negative 9t minus 6b equals negative 1491. Okay, the b's cancel, and we get negative 5t is equal to negative 4.45. Divide both sides by -5. So t equals 0.89. Nice. 2-decimal number. That's perfect. Okay, so that's one answer. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it back into, doesn't really matter, but I'm going to plug it back into this equation right here. So that t. So it's going to be 4t, so 4 times 0.89 plus 6b is equal to 1046. So I get 3.56, multiply that out, plus 6b equals 10.46. Subtract 3.56, and I get 6b is equal to 690. Divide by 6. B is equal to 1.15. Okay, so there we go, another answer, and of course you need to put it into English, and we say taco cost is 89 cents, and a burrito cost is $1.15. And that's your answer. Okay, again, this is another cost problem. Pretty easy to recognize that. Okay, Nike Town sold 240 pairs of shoes on Saturday. Each pair of cross-training shoes were $66.95, and a pair of running shoes cost $84.95. The total shoe sales for that day were $17,652. How many of each type were sold? So again, you have to look at this, and right away you should see this 240 here. They sold 240 pairs of shoes. That's a quantity. So if that's a quantity and you see other amounts there, this is definitely going to be a cost quantity problem. All right, so look at the question. How many of each type were sold? So we have C is equal to the number of cross-training shoes, and R equals the number of running shoes. Okay, there's our variables defined. And then we just come up, well, our first one, again, we're going to use this 240 right here. If that's the total number of shoes that we sold total, it's going to be C plus R is equal to 240. That's the easiest equation to come up with. Okay, the next one is pretty easy too, but it says the cross-training shoes were $66.95. So there we go, $66.95 times C plus running shoes are $84.95 times R, and that equals $17,652. Okay, it's nice when you kind of line them up. I didn't really line it up that well, but it's okay. All right, so again, you could use elimination or substitution. I would definitely recommend using elimination. And then you're going to say, well, this looks kind of complicated to use elimination. Actually, it's not that bad. If I want to get rid of the C, and I could get rid of the R or the C, but if I get rid of the C, I multiply everything by negative 66.95. Then what happens is my R value, after I do my subtraction, it stays positive. It doesn't really matter because it'll work out anyway, but I just like to work with positive numbers. Okay, so if I multiply that out, I get negative 66.95C minus 66.95R, and then of course use your calculator. Negative 66.95 times 240 is negative 16,068. Alright, so remember, keep in mind that it's going to be a whole number. If it's not a whole number, then we got a problem. So of course the C's cancel out, and we wind up getting, this actually turns out to be a nice number here. It's 18R is equal to 1584 divided by 18. R equals 88. Okay, that's our first number there. And of course the easiest one to plug it into is you want to plug it into this guy right here. You want to plug it into the one with all the decimals. So it's going to be C plus R, or C plus 88, equals 240. Subtract 88 from both sides. So C equals 152. Okay, so again, in English, you need to write a nice little answer here. Let's say the number of cross-training shoes is 152, and the number of running shoes equals 88. And that's your answer. Okay, so again, recognizing this is a cost quantity problem, and you're good to go. Okay, let's go on to the next example. Okay, next one, number 5. A total of 650 people attended the 7 p.m. showing of Avatar. The movie theater charged $7.50 for adults and $3.75 for kids. That's a pretty good deal. The theater made $3,937.50. How many adults and how many kids attend? All right, so again, you need to look at this, and here's your quantity. 650 people attended, and then there's a bunch of costs here. So this is definitely a cost quantity problem. So the quantity problem, that's the easiest one. Well, first we have to define our variable here. So we're going to say, and again, this is how many. So A is going to be the number of adult tickets, and C is the number of child tickets. Okay, so the first equation is going to be A plus C is equal to 650. That's easy. And then 750 for an adult, so 7.50 times A plus 3.75C is equal to 3,937.50. Here we go. So again, I'm going to choose to get rid of the C using the elimination method because it's a smaller number, which means I'll get a positive value of A. So here we go. I'm going to multiply this by negative 3.75. So I get negative 3.75A minus 3.75C is equal to negative 2437.50. Okay, and of course the C's cancel out. Now I'm getting 3.75A is equal to 1,500 divided by 3.75. And I got A is equal to 400. And of course the easiest one to plug back into is the first equation. So it's A plus C, or 400 plus C is equal to 650. Subtract 400 from both sides. And I got C is equal to 250. Okay, so then your English answer is going to be 400 adult tickets sold and 250 kids or child, doesn't matter, child tickets sold. That's your answer. Okay, so these really are pretty easy problems. Again, you have to make sure you set up two equations and you're good to go. Okay, so that's actually the first day of applications. And the next video is going to be the second day of applications using basically perimeters of a rectangle. All right, so that's it. Have a good day, math fans.